Okay. Hello. Just getting my light set up. Welcome to Sharpie Podcast. It's Thursday. We made it this time. Ronnie should be on any minute. Ron might possibly make an appearance. He's like Bigfoot these days. Except, and do here comes Ronnie. As long as it all works out, right?
Oh,
Oh, what's up?
what's going on?
Not much. Oh, there we go. Ah, yeah. I don't know why I can't see you on my screen, but it always. But they normally it works out on the actual podcast thing.
Yeah.
It turns out to be normal, so I don't know what's going on. But
You're huge always on my screen. Like I can see like from here to here and like there to there. It's like,
is that better?
that's a little better.
Yeah.
That's a little better.
So yeah. So what's going on?
Oh man, just so much. I apologize to anyone who does watch our podcast. We've had several people ask me, "You guys still doing that?" And it's like, "Yeah," but it's like, man, just life's crazy busy. It's like every time I want a podcast, it's like something comes up and we're just, yeah,
Yeah.
super busy. And I feel like we've definitely neglected it. But no, it's nuts. I've been talking to people at work and like, I don't know how it is with you, but it's like my wife and I have been going to bed every night and like turning on the riots out in like LA and like watching coverage basically until we can't stay awake anymore. And it's just
Yeah.
nuts. It's just nuts. And I, and I follow all this stuff on Instagram and watch all of it. And it's like, I'm just going, I was actually mowing the yard last night and I was just cracking up to myself because I was watching these Instagram reels of these people like they're showing ICE going in and arresting people wherever, like at work or at home or whatever. And just these random people and neighbors on the street like screaming like, "Show us your warrant, it's unconstitutional," blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are you, their fucking lawyer? Like, what, where did you go to law school? Like, they don't they don't have to show you shit. You're just some fucking random dude on the street. They don't owe you a fucking warrant. Like, you're just some
Yeah.
random, where'd you go to law school? Like some fucking underneath the 101 bridge in Santa Monica or something. It's like, it's just hilarious. You've got all these people who, for all intents and purposes, look like homeless paid Antifa protesters that are out there yelling that they need to see evidence and warrants. It's like you don't get to see shit because you're a
Yeah.
nobody. It's like if you're their lawyer representing them, then you sign some paperwork and you head on over to the ICE headquarters with them and do your thing, whatever. But it just cracks me up, these people that all of a sudden, like, oh, this is unconstitutional. It's like, you don't know what they did. It's like, you don't see a story on the evening news that, oh, we arrested John Smith for murder and here's all the evidence. it's like
Yeah.
it's like
I
you know
mean, no, I get it. Uh, like I'm sure they did because normally when they're rating specific places, so it's not like.
yeah.
So they probably did go through the process, and they have one, like you said. They don't have to show it to everybody that asks. Only the
No,
people
they're not going to
that
run up
who
to
own
every
the.
homeless person on the street and say, hey, just so you know, tomorrow we're going to be over here to arrest this dude. So just here's the warrant so you can see it ahead of time. It's like, what do
Yeah,
you know, and
only
I,
the
and I
person who owns the building has to know that. Like that's the. Yeah,
yeah. And I forget who it was. I was listening, I think it was on Glenn Beck, and he had somebody on. It was a lawyer or somebody, and and he was talking about all these people always scream, "Oh, due process," and he was saying like, well, due process, the way like it reads in the Constitution and the way it is, doesn't necessarily mean that you get a jury trial. Like, not everything is a jury trial. And he was saying like, when you're going through immigration and you're doing all these steps and you're going through this process, he's like, there's a process that is followed when you go through immigration. And if at any point you broke that process, it's almost like a contract. If you broke that process, that the penalty is deportation. Like it's not like you broke the process and then they say, okay, well now let's go do a jury trial. Like I was in a previous life, of mine, I no longer do this. In a previous life of mine, I used to disconnect people's utilities that didn't pay their bill. And
Yeah.
there was times where I would go disconnect someone's power. And like I would come back then like the next month and I would talk and I would try to work with people as much as I could and talk to people and I would say,
Yeah.
you know, what's going on? I was just here last month. And they would say, well, yeah, I got a pay arrangement. I got a pay arrangement. You know, you can't cut my power. I have a pay arrangement. And I'd say, okay, well, let me look into that. And there's a process you got to follow. If you get a pay arrangement, then you have to do certain stuff to get that contract with the utility company, and then you have to make payments on exact days at exact times. You know, you can't just make it willy-nilly whenever. You've got to go through that process. And then if at any point you don't do one of those steps, they send you back out and disconnect your power. And it's there's no like, you know, you broke the contract, you broke the process, you were in the process, you were going through your due process. If you didn't show up for a court date, if you broke another law, if you got a DUI or you committed some other crime or if you did whatever, that was the process. You you were going through your process and you broke
Yeah.
it, and the penalty in that process is deportation. And it's funny that people who are going to sit there and scream about constitutional rights and due process don't even know the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
it just kind of cracks me up. You know, it's like, and then they had what was it? The mayor, the Karen Bass of LA was talking about like, oh, you know, these ICE people, they're supposed to just be getting like the worst of the worst, like drug dealers and criminal offenders and all this stuff like that. But these people are just working at Home Depot, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. No offense to anyone who works at Home Depot, but it's like I didn't realize that working at Home Depot was such a full time job that you didn't have a chance to deal drugs on the side. You know, there's no way you could do anything else if you're working at the home. You can't have a full time job and sell drugs at the same time, or you can't have a full time.
but I don't think that's what they're doing. I think they are just rounding like illegal, which again is perfectly fine. Like
Yeah,
they already broke the law, so
yeah,
um, even if like I don't think they are criminals
yeah,
technically. Not
yeah,
technically, they are.
yeah.
So
It cracks
you
me
don't
up.
have to sell drugs and stuff to just. So yeah, like busting a Home Depot or going to the WalMarts and stuff and these places and getting the illegal like that's what people wanted Donald Trump to do, and that's what he's doing. He's
Yeah,
um and then but yeah, like the governor of Mexico kind of like encouraging it and stuff like that. Like uh it's crazy. It's
yeah. And I
crazy.
think it's funny how the narrative is kind of flipped too, because, you know, what did we hear all through like Trump's first administration, and then like when he was running for president the second time was, you know, that local law enforcement and state law enforcement in some of these states, they're not going to cooperate. They're going to be sanctuary cities. They're not going to help. They're not going to help ICE. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to, you know, they're not gonna like if they arrest someone on some other charge and they find out they're here illegally, blah blah, blah whatever. They're not gonna turn them over to ICE. They're not gonna do all this stuff. And then when federal agents do come in and ICE is doing raids, now all of a sudden they're like, well, we can handle it ourselves. We don't need ICE. We're just not going to get involved in civil immigration laws. And it's like, well, okay, so when did that happen? Like, when have you been deporting criminal alien? Which, like you said, if you're in the country illegally, it's a crime. I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like the civil cases would be like if you overstayed your visa or you oh, I forgot what to say, overstayed your visa, or maybe didn't show up for your hearing, or you didn't show up for your asylum case, whatever. You basically they're calling that a civil offense. It's like, well, there's a reason that someone overstays their visa, or the reason someone doesn't renew their student visa. It's because they know if they do, you're going to see all the fucking river to the sea bullshit on their social media, or all the "I fucking hate America" bullshit on their social media, you're going to see all the things that are going to disqualify them from getting their visa renewed.
I mean, maybe, but people have been doing that for. That's something that
Well,
overstaying their visa, and
a
like
lot of
that's
it's
something
been, yeah,
that's been going on for a long time. Like
a lot of it though is,
I've met some people who've done that,
yeah,
and
a lot of it's been like the Chinese that have come over to California that have overstayed visas and then had kids here and stuff like that. And the same thing though, they have found
yeah,
a lot of these Chinese people that have come over here are then
oh, they do
basically
that everywhere. Like
they're working for the CCP or sending information back or doing things the CCP wants them to do. And when they go to renew
yeah,
the visa, they're going to get deported. That's going to get found out.
well, yeah, some of it's like yes, there's a lot some of that, but the majority of it is just people who don't want to go back to where
Well,
they came. Like
that's true too.
that's been especially like Middle Eastern people and stuff like that. Like that happens everywhere. Like and that's very like very fairly common, and it hasn't been until like maybe under Obama and now under Trump, like that the administration has really started like enforcing
Yeah.
um, that. Whereas before, like you could overstay, and there's a good chance that nothing would
Oh,
happen for a while. So
yeah.
it just it just depends. Like yeah, you're right. There are there are spies and stuff like that. They come over here, especially when it comes to China, because they're obligated to do so.
Mm,
But then Uh, I mean, there's just lots of reasons people. There's more reasons than just like stuff like that that people want to stay because
yeah.
for all the grief that people give America, like people they seem to not want to go awfully bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean,
but
I'd even argue too that if you come here and overstay your visa, or even if you come here and you get a job and you've got a fake social security number, because they were also talking about that today too. I forget who it was, some reporter that was out in California, that they were saying like these fake social security numbers, these fake IDs these people get are very kind of sophisticated and elaborate. You know, they've got networks of organizations or whatever that will get them these social securities and these fake IDs that I mean it's so prevalent and there's so much of it, it's just so hard to trace and track down that if you come here illegally or overstay a visa and you have a fake social security number and you have a job and you're working, odds are you probably aren't going to get deported. You're probably going to get away with it anyways just because it's so hard to trace these people with these fake social security numbers.
I mean, you can go on. I just watched a video. How you can go on the dark webs, and there's a site where you can pay. You pay about I think it's like $4,000 in general,
Mm-hmm.
and then they give you you can use your regular name or you can get a different one, and they give you a bona fide Social Security, ID, birth
Yeah,
certificate, all that stuff.
yeah.
So, uh, like, yeah, there's a lot of that, but uh, I mean, I just say I don't want to make out like all illegals to be like drug dealers and stuff like that. Like sometimes people just stay because they do want a better life, but they just
Yeah,
went the wrong way about getting
yeah,
it. But it is really hard. Like a lot of like, have you looked at the process to becoming like a citizen? Like how, if you like what, and the process is a little different depending on what country you're in as well too. So like what you're trying to come from. So like it can be easier or harder depending on what country you live
yeah.
in. It's a lot of money because you
Well,
gotta.
and no, I've honestly have never looked into the process, but and working all through like my teenage and years in my 20s, working in landscaping and construction, I worked with a lot of people that, I mean, they admitted to me that they were here illegally, and I'd say probably yeah, 99.9% of them I would say they just, you know, when you have a president or an administration or a country that is basically saying that you can come here and it's easier, at least at the time, easier to do it illegally than it is legally, and you are coming here without the intent of selling drugs or being in a gang or anything else. If you're coming here with the intent to work and send money back to Mexico or do whatever, then I mean, yeah, I can definitely understand why people do it for sure.
Yeah, like it's a lot hard. Like we need to reform the process to get here.
Oh yeah,
Not that we would like, not saying that like it should make it easy for everyone to come, but to make it easier for like those who want to participate and be American, like not waving a Mexican flag at a protest, like you know what I mean, like who actually want to be American to get here, like because
yeah.
we do need more of that. People who want the
These 87,000 IRS agents that Joe Biden hired. I mean, make those people immigration services that can go through and process all this stuff. I mean, I think the
well,
process.
it's not so like processing is an issue, but like also like the standard the things that you need to meet to be able to even apply in the first place for certain visas, right? Like there's a high standard, and then on top of that, like uh, I mean, like because one of them you have to have be able to have you have to have so much money saved up, and in
Mhm.
some of these countries, like you're not saving $50,000 of
Yeah,
American U.S. currency or
yeah,
500,000. I think it's like 500,000 actually, like something like that, something ridiculous. And like you're just not doing it. So like then you have marriage, you have so many different options. But I'm not saying again, if you come here illegally, you should get deported. But at the same time, we need to make sure uh, what was I gonna say? We need to make sure that there's a fair path here for those who are willing to
I mean,
go
I
through the
would
process.
say if you're coming here legally, just is like you said, if you have to say $50,000 or 25, whatever, that's to me. I mean, I don't know how that like these countries. I don't know how it's possible, but as long as you can come here and not immediately go on public assistance, it's like if you're going to come here and then just immediately be like, yeah, I'm going to be on public assistance. It's like, well, I mean, I can see where that's a problem. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think that's right. I mean, but it's like you were saying, if you got to come here and have like so much money that people who were born here can't even afford to save up, that's stupid. But like I said, I haven't gone through the process. I haven't looked at it. I just with people that I've worked with in the past, and I know like I've talked to people in the past that yeah, even the time it takes, the years that it takes to get approved, is ridiculous. I knew some people back when I was in college that I was going to college with them at the time, and they were here like on athletic scholarships. Um, and I know like when they graduated or were approaching graduation from college, they all had like degrees. Like I think one of them was like sports medicine, another one was like architecture. They were all getting these degrees, and they were going to have to go back to their countries because they, I guess, something like kind of like you were saying, like they had jobs, but they were going to have their employer that they were working for at the time was going to have to a sponsor them, and then B was going to have, like you said, like be responsible for some dollar amount, and that might be what you're talking about was like they had to be responsible for some dollar amount for that person. And even though they were graduating with good 4-year degrees and were working for good, reputable companies, it's like for that company to have to sponsor that person, fine, but then to have like a certain amount of money. I forget what it was, but yeah,
Well,
you're right.
like I
It was
agree with so, like one of the rules is if you're gonna and like I don't know how some of these larger corporations get away with it, but I know that like in order to um what's the other way that way there we go in order to even like for a company they're supposed to look here locally or within the United States first to make sure that no one else can fill that job.
yeah,
And a lot of these big corporations aren't doing that. They're actually like somehow they're finding a way around it, and
yeah,
then they're filling these positions. So much so that sometimes they're replacing like Americans with immigrants because they can pay them less,
Yeah.
right? Then they have to pay the guy they were paying, right? So like that's an issue. Like that shouldn't be happening. But like but yeah, you have to there's different that's it's just crazy. Like it's hard to get here. It's too hard to get here. And at the same time, like uh you can't come here illegally.
Yeah.
So
I just think like if you're
uh
coming here and you're going to a 4 year university or even getting a master's or a doctor, whatever, if you're as long as you're not, I guess, from some adversarial country, if you are graduating from your university and you already have a job lined up, it's like, you know, our school, like the ones I'm talking about in particular, like I said, they had athletic scholarships. So it's like they were paid to go to school here, and like you said, there's people that were in the country that can do those jobs. Obviously, I mean, anyone else that's graduating with that degree can do that same job. But it's like if that person is willing to stay here and contribute to our society with a degree, I mean, I just don't see like why, yeah, it's so difficult for them to stay as long as, like I said, they're not from some adversary.
yeah,
And
like I don't know. It's so like it's complicated. Like that's something that you have to the process has to like you have to take time to work that process out better.
yeah,
Um because I mean just because again like a lot of those people out there throwing bricks and stuff have 4 year degrees or
yeah.
2 year degrees, 4 year
Well,
degrees.
those people out there throwing bricks, a lot of those people aren't illegals. A lot of those are paid
No,
anti.
but that's what I mean. Like just getting a degree doesn't make you
But no, that's
uh
what I'm saying is that person left their home country to come here to be away from their home country to get a college degree, and then they want to stay, and they're not protesting against the
I,
country, not an adversary. They're, you know what I mean? Like,
that's a hard thing to do when you go to our colleges. Like
yeah,
that's what our kids aren't. Um, I don't know what I don't have the answers,
no,
but like
I just think,
I'm just saying like it's a complicated thing like to set the standards to see who you want coming over.
yeah,
Like but like so like Trump with the South American thing, the wanting to bring that like that makes sense because they I mean they're farmers. Like America's big on farms. So they have skills that we use. They they're not too far off from our kind of our. I mean, I say art, but like yeah, from American culture,
hmm
kind of that same kind of thing. So it's like that's a no brainer. Some of the like there's a lot of Africans and stuff that come here and they become surgeons and lawyers and
yeah,
all that stuff and engineers, truck drivers, but like um yeah, like it's just it's a hard it's something that has to be reworked. Like we got to sit down, or not we, but it has to be made easier. Not like super like it doesn't have to be like easy where anyone get in. It just has to be easier for someone who really wants to come
yeah,
and partake in our culture and stuff
yeah,
and our values.
yeah.
It has to make it easier for them to come.
Have you watched any of the protests at night? Like, 'cause I know you're a night owl. Have you seen any of them? I
Yeah, I
know
watched that.
I get a kick out of watching the ones that are throwing rocks and stuff get run over by horses. Get the mounted police just barreling through them. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's nuts.
yeah.
But and I
It
well,
is. I honestly, and one of the things I was thinking about is like Indiana, like trying. I'm gonna talk to some people, but I'm gonna see what it'd take to get like a bill where like if there's riots in Indiana, like say like Indianapolis or here, like it gives. So like if there's unrest like that and there's violent riots, that it gives the store owners the right to protect their stores, the inside of their stores and property. Uh, uh, with lethal force if need be. So like if there's a bunch of people coming, you can protect your store like that. Like and they're in the store or they're outside trying to break the window or something,
yeah,
then you have a right to protect your property with your firearms and stuff. And then same thing for people at their houses. Like they too. I mean, you do, but at the same time, like that level of like, you don't have to wait for them to be like kicking in your door. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if they're coming there harassing, trying to fight, like then, like it'll be that way they have more protection than uh when they go if they have to go to court. Like it'd be less, like it'd be more like a no, no, we looked at it. Y'all were here, like ganging up on their property. You didn't have a right to be there. Like, and
yeah.
so
Did you see
yeah,
what DeSantis said on his press conference about mobs on the streets?
yep.
He,
That you can if you're in a car or something,
yeah, he
and
said if
they're
cars surrounded, and he said you don't have to be a sitting duck. He said if you do whatever means necessary to get yourself out of a situation, if you run someone down, you're good. It's like,
yep. It should be the same. That's another thing. That should be the same thing here. We should have that same rule. So, and
that's
it should
that's
be. I
kind
think
of
it should be a special bill for like times like these.
that's kind of a
So
panic I honestly have sometimes because not that in Indiana and Fort Wayne we're having riots, but it's like I transport my kids a lot, in my vehicle, and it's like I've thought about that sometimes because we take road trips, we go out of town on vacation, something like that, and it's like I'm not familiar with big cities. I mean, I don't really leave. I try to avoid big cities as much as possible, but sometimes on the highway you have to go through a big city to get somewhere. And if I'm not
yeah,
familiar with a big city and I just have to be driving through and oh shit, there's a riot going on, like what do I do? It's like I got my kids in the car. I was like, I'm not fucking stopping. I'm barreling right through that shit.
yeah.
It's
But
like,
you gotta be careful. I mean, you do what you have to do as a man, right? Protect your family. But
I mean, if I'm by
like
myself, that's one
some of
thing.
those cities are
Yeah.
like you'll get prosecuted for it because they're
Well, but
not.
what's worse, getting prosecuted or my kids getting attacked in a vehicle? It's like
No, that's what I'm saying.
it's one thing if I'm by
I'm just
myself,
I'm not
but if my kids are in the car,
I'm
I'm
not
sorry, but
telling
your
you
ass is
not
getting
to
run
do
down.
anything.
What's that?
Like I said, I'm not telling you not to do anything. I'm just telling you that depending on the city, like you said, like some cities will be all right with it. Other cities won't. But like that's why I said you do what you got to do as a man, because I mean, that's exactly what I would do. It's like, all
Yep.
right, if I got to face these charges later, it's going to be what it's going to be, but my kid's getting out of here safely. But
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not
yeah,
going to risk that, but I mean, I consume a lot of news, so I kind of think that I'm not dumb enough to where I am going to drive through a downtown area where there's a protest going on. But it's like sometimes you're on vacation, you tune stuff out, you don't watch the news, I don't know what's going on, because my vacation, I go to the mountains, so I try to stay away
yeah,
from I try to stay away from the news as much as possible when I'm on vacation. So you just never
yeah,
know. But I mean, that could even happen too. Like if you were, let's say you were on vacation somewhere in the mountains or somewhere and some natural disaster hit, when people were desperate and didn't have food and water, didn't have electricity, and here you come rolling through in a vehicle with gas that's running. I mean, you could have people try to mob your vehicle, just try to steal what you have or try to, take your vehicle because it's, whatever, it could be anything.
oh man, I don't know. I'd turn into like a you know hurricane. I might turn into a hurricane myself when I'm coming through there, not stopping.
Yeah. What do you think too? Like I was watching the protests and like and I'm not gonna lie, I've got like the because it's a local brand and there in Fort Wayne produce those Byrna launchers, like the Byrna handguns. Have you heard of those? Like
Yeah,
the
I
non
wouldn't do the burner. I do the.
well
If I were you, I get like bear. I mean, I get like, mace, the
well no
foggers or whatever.
what I'm saying is I've already purchased Byrna stuff. So
Oh,
that's
gotcha,
not what that's but I'm going somewhere else with this. So,
gotcha.
but what I noticed is when they were showing like these police officers and these agents out there in California, I mean, I don't know what all they use and what they have, but a lot of them had what looked like paintball guns.
Yep,
And
it's
I'm
the same
just,
concept as your burner. Yeah,
yeah, but I'm just wondering, yeah, so I'm wondering like what the impact of those paintball guns is because like they were showing some of those people getting shot with those paintball looking guns, and they were like just kind of like bouncing off. People were kind of like, "Oh, that hurt," and then they're just like running away. Whereas
because they
like
don't always break.
what's
Yeah,
that?
they don't always break.
Yeah,
Especially, it depends on the clothing and stuff.
yeah. But what I
And
was gonna
if
say is like that Burna and the stuff that I've got. I mean, you get hit with that, and my ass wouldn't keep running. That shit is
well, I
powerful.
mean, it stings, but like those people are there for like it's not what you like.
The one, the
Sometimes it
one,
can
the
deter
one that
people,
I have.
sometimes it won't. Like that's
The one,
just when you're in the actual shit.
yeah,
Like that's when the myth that's in your head is dispelled. Like some people, they get like you hit them with some pain, it like oh shit. But other people, like you hit them with the pain, and it just makes them angry.
yeah,
Or if you try and hit them with the balls, and they don't break right, or the wind's blowing a certain way, like that's the thing with those that kind of weaponry is the wind. There's other things that play a role,
yeah.
and
But the one that
like
I got will break a car window from 30 feet away. And it's like that thing's got some power. But
it does. But
but they
again,
also they
like
also sell they have like a shotgun version too that will use like an actual 3-inch shell that will shoot like non-lethal shotgun rounds. And it's like I don't really see them using those either. I mean, I'm just saying, just from the camera angles
yeah, yeah.
that I'm seeing on TV. I don't know. Maybe they do have them, but it's like I'm just thinking like if I'm those police and they're forcing me to use non-lethal stuff, it's like I want the most powerful non-lethal stuff they got.
Well, they are
Blast.
using rubber bullets. They're using a lot of the non-lethal stuff. Like it just like that's the thing is like the thing how things should work in your mind is not really how they play out in
I'm,
uh
I'm just saying that the
reality.
ones that I saw like look like just legit, just like paintball guns. They didn't look
Yeah, but
like they didn't look like non-lethal like law enforcement weapons. They just look like paintball guns. I don't know.
yeah, but that's what the Burna is technically just a handgun version of those.
Yeah,
Like it's the same thing. Like they have the paintball with the powder inside or whatever. That when it hits, it's supposed to disperse this. Hit them with the pepper spray and all that stuff. Like they use rubber bullets. They use the CS gas. Um, but like CS gas isn't that bad. Like as long as like it's bad if you freak out, but if you don't freak out, like and you keep your wits about you, you'll
yeah,
survive. Like it won't be. Um, but uh, yeah, I mean, like yeah, they use a lot of stuff, but
yeah. I think sometimes like I'm glad I'm not in law enforcement because I just feel like I would lose my temper pretty quick. Like I don't know if I could put up with some of the stuff that those. I gotta hand it to them. I mean they're putting up with a lot of crap from some of those protesters, and you could tell. Like my wife was saying, we were watching. She's like they're throwing like water bottles and stuff, and I was like, well, look close. I was like, those are frozen water bottles. Those water bottles aren't breaking on impact. They're throwing
yeah,
frozen water bottles at them.
and they're throwing stones. They're
Stone.
throwing
Yeah, and that's
one guy. There was
one of the
a
weird.
night where the dude was shooting gun. He actually shot a gun at him.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I saw the reports, and I don't know if it's you never know what's real on social media anymore, but they were saying that there was reports of the pallets of bricks and cinder blocks getting dropped off near the protest areas, and they were showing pictures, but it's like I don't know if those are old pictures. You don't know where those are from. That could be anything, but
I mean, like it wouldn't. I wouldn't put it past. Like
no, I
I don't
wouldn't.
know. Like there's a bigger picture, and it's like I don't know.
And
Uh,
I did see the video because it happened live, like while I was watching it, of those gas masks being dropped off that are from Walmart. There was
yeah,
I forget what night this week it was, and there was a reporter there, and she was like, and if you look over here, and you saw like these vehicles pulling up to this parking lot, and they were pulling out all these boxes of gas masks, and they zoomed in on them, and like then they came out later and said, yeah, those are sold or supplied by Walmart and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I frequent Walmart quite a bit, and I don't know how often I've been. I don't know that I've ever seen a gas mask on the shelf at Walmart. And if I have seen anything on the shelf at Walmart, I've never seen more than, five or six of one item unless it's a food purchase. So now they're coming out saying that heiress or that lady who's the one of the owners of Walmart, the founders of Walmart, is putting out all this anti-Trump pro-protester stuff. So it's like is Walmart supplying the protesters with stuff to fight against law enforcement? I
I
mean,
mean, like, who do you think's funding? Like, where do you think the money comes from? It's
well,
coming from these large corporations and these companies. Like,
yeah,
this isn't grassroots. Like, the protests
no,
aren't grassroots. So,
no.
like, that,
Glenn Beckman naming a guy who was funding it, who's some billionaire who is a member. I guess he's an American, but he's got ties to the CCP and he's been working for the CCP and he lives in America. Surprisingly, it's not George Soros, and I can't remember the guy's name, but Glenn Beck was talking about him quite a bit.
well, yeah, like a lot of these billionaires and stuff are like that. Like, that's why the government's in bed with the large corporations. Biden administration was deeply in bed with these large corporations. Like, that's the thing is it like there everyone thinks it's the corporations against the government and the government wants to punish them. Like, no, the government does tough talk, but
Yeah,
at the same time they're working towards the same goal. Like, they don't even have to be like allies. It doesn't have to be a conspiracy in the sense of like they're literally working together, but they have the same goals, right?
yeah,
The government wants control. The billionaires believe that the government, they believe that we need to be controlled and everything because they also make money. Um, uh, hold on. But
uh-oh, uh-oh. Josh is going to take care of some business. He's got us on mute. But yeah, it's interesting, kind of like what Josh was saying of how these corporations and these businesses, back these politicians, and it's like they do that for a reason. They're not doing that because they just really like the person or because they're just doing something that they think is their civic responsibility. It's because they think or they know that they're going to get something out of it, or they're going to get some sort of favoritism, or they're going to get some sort of kickback, or they're going to get some sort of benefit. I think a lot of it is even that the government or politicians are going to look the other way for dirty deeds or shady things that they're doing. You see that all the time. And
okay, I'm back.
when Biden was in office, there was all these things saying that he was tied to China or tied to Russia, and people would say, well, what specifically did Biden do for China, or what specifically did Biden do for Russia? And it's like, well, you may not be able to just easily point to something he did or something that he gained, but it's things that they look the other way on, or it's things that a corporation or
No,
China
he personally made money from
has
it.
done.
Like,
What's that?
like he personally made money from it. Like
Yeah,
Glenn
that's
Book
what I'm
back
saying.
and all. Like, there's
What?
actually a book from a reporter who lines out like all the different connections and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's
So
that's what I'm saying. Like you may not see exactly what Biden did for them though. Like, yeah, Biden got money, but like people would say, well, what favor did Biden do for China, or what favor did Biden do for Russia? And it's like, well, maybe not necessarily something you're going to see or just be able to point to, but it's definitely things that China and Russia are allowed to do that we just look the other way on or we let them do. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the Biden and all of his shell corporations got all kinds of money from China and from Russia. But
I mean, the immigration. A lot of Chinese immigrated here.
yeah,
They had immigrant Chinese slaves working on drug plantations and stuff like that, run by Chinese syndicates and the cartels, and like there's lots of stuff that people benefited from Joe Biden not doing
yeah,
and I mean, taking money from, and that it's not just Joe Biden, it's Republicans, it's Democrats, like there's lots of them. Like Mitch McConnell's one of them. Uh,
You,
Oh, it used to be.
you touched on something there for a second. That's something that's kind of gone under the radar lately is the marijuana legalization. And these Chinese slaves that were being brought into the country and working as slaves on these marijuana grow operations, and
Yeah,
it's
but
like
that's
you haven't heard much about that lately.
yeah. It's just there needs to be better regulation when you legalize. I mean, 'cause that's an easy thing. Like it should like just be regular employment, like any other company, right? Like, gotta make sure you're paying, gotta have inspections and stuff. Like, there's an easy fix for that. But like sometimes people like if you have a sloppy legalization, then
Yeah,
like yeah, you're gonna have issues. But you're right. Like yeah, the cartels. I mean, the cartels took advantage of like especially in what was it, California,
the ones I had heard about
maybe
were
Utah.
out in New York that there was a lot of it going on.
Well, yeah, but on the West Coast out there, there's a lot of it. And there's not enough, like in places where there's not enough police to even, they have to turn a blind eye because they don't have enough to, if they wanted to raid it or something. So, um, and they were killing people out on the trails and stuff if they accidentally wandered into one of the operations or something.
Yeah.
Like, there's, I mean, I think I did a whole episode on one, but yeah, like it's crazy. So what was it? It was riots. Uh,
Well, one thing that I just had heard about this today and didn't even realize that this was going on. But um, well, just before we came on here, Israel launched airstrikes on Iran, um, like
again?
direct airstrikes on
Yeah.
Iran. I didn't know that that was even going on until I heard it today on the radio on the way home from work. They were talking about that the White House or the United States was this Sunday planning on talks with Iran about their nuclear program, and basically Iran was just saying that no, we want a nuclear weapon, and we're going to do it. We're not dealing with you guys anymore. And Trump had came in, and I have heard Trump saying that Iran can under no circumstances have a nuclear weapon, but I didn't know that Israel had basically said we're launching airstrikes. We're going to attack Iran because
Like,
there's
yeah, that's what Israel, and that's what Israel should be doing. Like, everybody's mad at Israel because Israel does. They meddle in our politics, they meddle in a lot of things. But that's like Israel does what Israel needs to do for its people and its country.
yeah,
So, like, I'm not actually mad at Israel for, uh, the espionage and all that stuff that they do in order to ensure their existence and their ability to grow and all that stuff. And they're at war with these other, with like, um, Hamas and these other countries. Like, I'm not even mad at that. Like that, that's exactly what I would expect a nation to do. I'm mad that America, like, I don't like that they do it here. And the only reason they can do it here is because our politicians are corrupt and
yeah.
they're not for America like they are for Israel. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
uh,
honestly, all these nations or all these groups that Israel is at war with, most of them are proxies of Iran. Um, and but what surprises me about the whole thing is that you remember just a while back they had the whole pager. Iran had the whole pager thing where they had put the explosives in the pagers of all the terrorists and blew them up at random times and stuff like that. I'm kind of
no, they
surprised.
didn't put explosives. They used it to blow up the batteries. They turned the batteries into the
Yeah,
bombs.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of surprised that they didn't have, and maybe they do more just of an insider attack on these nuclear sites instead of actual just legit airstrikes. I mean, I guess the airstrikes are a safer bet because I don't think Iran has any kind of retaliation that they can even do against Israel, honestly. But I'm kind of surprised it wasn't more like, I don't want to say inside job, but more um, sabotage, more of a sabotage kind of attack instead of just straight up airstrikes.
why when you have bombs? Like if I can just bomb the place, why would I? And it sends a bigger message.
That's true.
We're dealing with Americans don't understand war because they're not we don't experience war like other the soldiers who go fight over there, they get to see what how the other people act and stuff like that, and the rules, how our rules actually hinder us, and how we do uh we participate in a somewhat fair form of warfare, whereas the rest of the world does not. Like, especially in the Middle East and stuff like that, that's not how they fight. It's just they actually fight wars. So like when we see like, oh, kids have died from bombs and their collateral, and we're like, oh, that's horrible. Like no, like people, and they talk about Israel doing but under ISIS, and then I mean not even ISIS, but like the Taliban, they'll go through whole villages and towns and stuff
Yeah.
and like murder whole towns and leave their bodies out. Like sometimes they
Yeah.
crucify them and leave the bodies out. Like this is how they fight. Like we just don't understand it. We have this weird like idea of like fair warfare. Like they're not white people and they're not European countries.
Well, I guess
They're-
my thought was more like because before the Ayatollah in Iran, things were a lot different, and I forget who it was today was talking about they don't know what's going to happen with this because you would think, okay, so Iran or Israel attacks Iran and tries to take out their nuclear weapons. So now what does Iran do? Because really, the I mean, the people of Iran don't like us per se. They don't like the United States. They don't like Israel. But the people of Iran, a lot of them also don't like the Ayatollah. So if the Ayatollah is getting Iran attacked directly, and their nuclear program and their nuclear sites are getting destroyed, will the Iranian people put up with the Ayatollah anymore? Will they continue to let them stay in power? And it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Look, I don't know how their government and how that shit works, but they've been slaves for this long. So, and then also you have like the Islam thing,
Well,
which, jihad against Israel, like they're gonna so there's things that they don't like, and there's things that and it's not all Iranians or whatever, but I don't know. But I can tell you that like the way it goes is like Israel bombs some shit, then some other countries strike back, and they try it like they do this tit for tat kind of thing, as an eye for an eye, a two for a two. Like that's how they fight.
well,
Like that.
over the past several years, there's been a lot of protests and pushback in Iran towards the Ayatollah. Like they were saying today that, like in Iran, a lot of places in Iran, like they've only got electricity part of the day because that's so poorly run, and the sanctions on them are so hard right now that there actually has been a lot of protests and a lot of pushback. And now after this, I don't know. Who knows what will happen?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's Israel bombing them, so like, there's something about having an enemy that kind of unites you against.
That's
So
true.
I don't know. I
Unless they
can't.
far enough, I don't know. Maybe there'll be a civil war in Iran. Who
But you can not like your ruler, and but I don't know. Like, hopefully they overthrow. But like most of that, like the original leadership's dead anyways, because Israel's killed them. So. uh Like I don't know. Like that's fucked up countries have that's just
knows?
how
Yeah,
it goes on. One dictator falls and then another one normally rises. So
that's that's
um
that's the truth. Truth.
yeah. But like I mean Israel's always bombing Iran. Like, that's a normal occurrence.
Well, I don't know. They were saying today that like I don't know, only the last what like maybe in the last couple decades, this is only like the third time that Israel has directly bombed Iran. Like they said that they've attacked all their proxies, they've attacked Iran in other countries and all their proxies in other countries. They said that this is only like the third time in the last 20 years or something like that.
I don't believe
that
that.
they've actually flown and done airstrikes in Iran.
I don't believe our media at all. Like, no, it's because it's true. Like the stuff that we hear is way different than the stuff that people like the media outside of the country. And I'm not saying that their stuff is always right, like in Europe or stuff like. I'm just saying that like when your country is often when your country is not involved, the media is more honest,
Yeah.
right? So like if you're outside of this country, like you're more likely to get news about Israel or more information about Israel or whatever the Afghan or ISIS, like it just depends.
Well,
But
I'm not saying they haven't attacked Iran. I'm saying flown planes over.
yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like our the shit that's said on our media, like no one knows because it just depends on whether it's politically
Yeah.
expedient somehow or to the point like that's what they talk about. Just like when they were talking about election fraud, like remember like just think about like the examples that we have. Remember when all of a sudden election fraud never happened except for the one time a Republican did it,
Yeah.
right? Like how that disappeared. Like so, then you're gonna listen to them about Israel or any other kind of war or anything else? Like I don't think so. Like
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I just don't. I try not to have a short memory. So many people have a short memory, but like I keep having to remind people, like you gotta not you. I'm not talking about you, but I'm just mean in general. Like you
Yeah.
gotta remember what they did to it. Like I seen like water trucks. They're talking about buses with like these water hoses and how they need to have that stuff, and then the sound. But I'm like, do you remember COVID? Like you don't think. You
Yeah.
don't think that like they're hosing Antifa today, but then like when, you're out there actually peacefully protesting and they're like, oh, well, there's a sickness going around. We got to close it down. And if you're out there protesting anyways, and then they start spraying you with the hose, like, because the Democrats don't care. They'll hurt innocent people.
Yeah.
Like they're they're the dick. I mean, it doesn't even matter. It's Republicans and Democrats. I don't know why. But like like we're brainwashed to think like, oh, it's them doing it, or no, it's us doing it. Like, no, it's all of them.
Yeah.
Like, and I guarantee you, they're using this. They're going to use this to expand their ability to surveil us, and we're going to lose privacy and we're going to lose rights.
Yeah.
But like the funny thing is that people are going to be cheering because at the time it's you know it's the Mexican waving flags, it's these or not anti, but it's all
Hmm.
these rioters and stuff. But like yeah, but when they take the rights, they don't give it back. When they
Yeah.
start using the equipment, once you give them approval to use the equipment,
Yeah.
they don't renege on that. Like
Yeah.
they're going to use that against that. Now they can use it against anybody,
Yeah. It's
right? So
funny too because I was thinking about them talking about like that Karen Bass and then the police chief out there in LA saying about just sending the National Guard in and how that was against their constitutional rights and stuff like that. But then the next thing I heard is LA and LA County stuff out there, they're putting in place curfews. The people can only be on the streets till a certain time, and they're putting in curfews. It's like, oh, so basically, now you're telling people that you can't be outside after a certain time. You can't like they respect your right to protest, but only during certain hours. It's
yeah,
like
like well, it's not even your right to protest. It's your right to destroy stuff. They're saying, but only during certain hours. Like
only
you
during
only go break stuff during.
now.
Yeah,
So you got a curfew, so you better get inside. So forget whether no matter what you're doing, you can't be out after a certain time. It's like, well, wait a minute, that there's no right to protest on certain hours and certain days.
yeah. Who's gonna enforce that curfew? Probably the National Guard and
Well, the National Guard, from what, and the mayor of LA even admitted it. The National Guard so far was only protecting ICE agents during their raids and protecting federal property so far. And
yeah,
then the LA mayor even admitted that. So we'll see. But I was kind of
yeah.
surprised like there was like some LA news reporters that were talking about it, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, the manpower and how bad things are in LA. Because if you're watching the protests, a lot of it was the California Highway Patrol and the Sheriff's Department, because they were saying that the LA police didn't have enough resources to send anyone at the time. So it's like, damn, it's like, how bad is it out in LA that the LA Police Department doesn't have enough resources to come help, that the California Highway
But
Patrol,
but yeah, there's always shortages of police and stuff like that. Like
yeah.
it's been like that for a while, especially since COVID
But
and stuff,
but if you think about like the size of LA, I forget what the
or the
population.
last riots. The police defund the police thing.
Yeah, like the size of LA. I forget what they said it was, like 20, well, maybe that's California. Yeah, either way, it was, it's in the millions. LA's in the millions. So you figure LA's in the millions, and then you figure the protests that are in LA are mainly centered in the downtown area around the federal buildings and the state buildings there. So it's a very small part of the LA population, and they have
Oh,
didn't
stop.
have LA
Wait. We don't
officers.
even know that it's the LA population. We don't know how much of the actual population is there
Well, okay,
because we know that they do pay people to come
let
there.
me let me rephrase that. Like the square mileage or the square area, the blocks surrounding the protest was a very small part of the LA area, and they didn't have enough police to give any resources to that. And that's kind of
Yeah, because
what makes
someone has to. So like once you pull the share, like so there's sectors and there's things that people have to police. So like you have to have someone still answering regular calls. So
well
they're
this
understaffed in their normal duties.
well
So
that's
now
what
you have this other thing going on. You're gonna pull people from there and then let other people,
well that's
you
what
know what I
makes
mean? Like,
me know that they didn't want to stop it. That's what makes me think that the LA police were like, we don't want to get involved, we don't care, we don't want to stop it.
yeah, I mean that's a factor. But then like so like it's there's political things. But then if you look at like, because I know people from there and the police were already struggling before that. Not that I mean, they can be kind of tyrannical too. Like a lot of California's not the best place, but I mean, but anyways, but like they're already struggling. So like then you have the sheriff's department. You have because like just like here, you have the Fort Wayne PD, but then you also see the state police here. You also see sheriffs, right? They got different jurisdictions and they're always helping each other. Well, like think about it. You've pulled a lot of those people away from there. So now you just have the LA Police Department and they were probably being helped as well by those other departments because they're short. So now it's like we don't really have the manpower to do that. So it could be political, but it could also just be that they don't have. I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying like if you look
Yeah,
at it, like they do have another job and somebody does still have to answer the regular
yeah.
the the regular stuff crimes going on. So
The normies out committing crimes.
yeah, yeah, the normies, the locals.
Yeah, the people that are actually there to commit crimes. Uh,
Yeah, but
yeah, it's crazy. But
well,
I'm 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 in,
anything else?
I'm interested to
Oh,
see. No, I'm just interested to see what happens with Iran when we talk next time. Definitely need to. Well, hopefully we'll get
yeah,
some more answers on that and stuff, because I was kind of taken off guard by that. I wasn't planning on talking about it. So, but
yeah.
but yeah, I'll let you get back to work. You're a hardworking man.
All right.
All right, man. We'll talk. You have a happy
Thank,
Father's Day too.
oh, you too.
All right.
Thank,
Talk to you later.
yep. Peace.
Copy cast out.